The colony world of New Haven was beautiful in the morning light. 2 million people had built their homes there over 30 years. They had farms, schools, and hospitals. Children played in the streets while their parents worked. It was a peaceful place, far from the politics of the Galactic Council. Ambassador Daniel Perry stood in the great hall of the council chambers on Nexus Prime. Around him sat representatives from 40 different alien species. Most of them looked at him with cold eyes. Some looked at him like he was an insect. "The claim to New Haven is based on ancient star maps," Perry said, keeping his voice calm. "But those maps are over 10,000 years old. They abandoned that region of space long before humans even discovered fire. We have built a civilization there. Our people have lived there for 3 decades." Counselor Al of the Empire rose from his seat. He was tall and covered in dark blue scales. His yellow eyes showed nothing but contempt. "Human, you speak of 30 years as if it matters. My people claimed that system before your species crawled out of the mud. Your presence there is illegal. You will remove your people, or we will remove them for you." Perry felt anger rise in his chest, but he pushed it down. "I ask the Council to consider the lives of over 2 million innocent people. Surely there can be a diplomatic solution." High Arbiter Aura, the ancient leader of the Council, raised one of his 4 hands for silence. "We have heard both arguments. The Council will now vote." Perry watched as the votes came in. One by one, species sided with some voted out of fear. Others voted because they had trade deals to protect. A few simply did not care about human lives. When the final count was announced, Perry felt his heart sink. "The Council rules in favor of the Empire," Aura announced. "Earth has 7 standard days to evacuate the colony of New Haven. Failure to comply will result in corrective action." Perry looked around the chamber at all the faces that had just condemned his people. "You cannot evacuate 2 million people in 7 days. You are asking for the impossible." Al smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. "Then I suggest you work quickly, human." Back on Earth, General Sam Griffin read the Council's decision with growing fury. He had served in the military for 40 years. He had fought pirates and settled border disputes, but he had never felt this kind of rage before. "They cannot be serious," Admiral Jack Monroe said. He stood beside Griffin in the command center, looking at the same report. Monroe was 60 years old, with gray hair and a face marked by decades of hard service. 7 days to move over 2 million people. Our fastest ships could not do it in 7 months. Griffin shook his head. "They know that. This is not about the colony. This is about sending a message. They want to show the galaxy that humans can be pushed around." "What are our orders?" Monroe asked. "We have been told to begin evacuation immediately," Griffin said. "But I have also been given permission to position our defense fleet near New Haven. If the attack before the deadline, we are authorized to respond." Dr. Lisa Grant entered the room. She was the head of Earth's Classified Research Division, and she knew secrets that most people could not imagine. "General, Admiral, I just received word. The fleet is already moving toward New Haven. They are not waiting for the deadline." Monroe cursed under his breath. "How long until they arrive?" 16 hours, Grant replied. Griffin picked up his communicator and opened a channel to the defense fleet. "All ships, maximum speed to New Haven. We need to get our people out before they arrive." But they were too late. The fleet arrived at New Haven before the human ships could get there. 200 warships surrounded the peaceful colony world. Counselor Al commanded the attack personally from his flagship. "Begin bombardment," he ordered. "Leave nothing standing." The first plasma bombs hit the capital city during the morning rush hour. Thousands died in an instant. More bombs followed, striking every population center on the planet. The colonists had no weapons, no military bases, no way to fight back. They were farmers and teachers and doctors. They were families. Kate was the captain of the Earth defense vessel Relentless. She was the first human commander to arrive at New Haven, and what she saw would haunt her forever. The beautiful colony world was burning. Smoke covered entire continents. Emergency signals screamed across every frequency, thousands of voices crying for help that would never come. "All ships engage the fleet," commanded, her voice shaking with grief and rage. But they had already finished their work. They turned their ships and jumped away, leaving destruction behind them, and her crew could only watch the fires burn and listen to the dying signals go silent one by one. When the final count came in, the numbers were devastating. Over 1.8 million humans had died. Children, elderly, entire families wiped out in hours. The few survivors described scenes of horror that no words could capture. The Galactic Council released an official statement the next day. High Arbiter Aura called the massacre regrettable but legally justified under Council law. Counselor Al gave an interview where he laughed about teaching the humans their place. Earth went silent after that. All diplomatic channels were closed. All trade agreements were suspended. Human ships disappeared from alien space stations. The galaxy waited for Earth's response, expecting surrender or desperate pleas for mercy. Neither came. In a secret military base deep beneath the mountains of North America, Admiral Monroe stood before a massive holographic display. It showed locations that no alien had ever seen: hidden shipyards, secret weapons factories, research stations disguised as asteroid mining operations. His top commanders stood with him, including Captain, whose eyes were still red from crying for her lost friends on New Haven. "They think we are weak," Monroe said quietly. "They think we are farmers and laborers who cannot fight back. They have no idea what we have been building in the dark." He turned to face his people. "New Haven will be avenged. Every single life will be answered for. And when we are finished, the galaxy will never forget what happens when you push humanity too far." 6 months passed after the New Haven massacre. The galaxy moved on quickly. Alien news channels stopped talking about the dead humans. Trade continued as normal. The Empire celebrated their victory with festivals and parades. Counselor Al became a hero to his people, the warrior who had humbled the arrogant humans. On the council station, alien diplomats made jokes about Earth's silence. They called humans cowards. They said the primitive species had finally learned its place in the galaxy. Some even suggested dividing up Earth's remaining colonies among the stronger species. But they did not know what was happening in the darkness between stars. Commander Amy Turner ran Earth's intelligence network. She had spent the last 6 months placing spies in every corner of the Empire. Her agents had mapped military bases, counted warships, and recorded patrol routes. They had found every weakness in the enemy's defenses. She walked into Admiral Monroe's command center carrying a data pad filled with information. "We have everything we need," she reported. "They have 12 major military installations. I know the location of every ship, every weapon platform, and every supply depot." Monroe nodded slowly. "Good work, Commander. What about the other Council species?" "Most of them have no idea what we are planning. A few have noticed increased activity around our colonies, but they think we are just mourning." Turner allowed herself a small smile. "They really do think we are harmless." In another part of the base, Dr. Lisa Grant was running final tests on her greatest creation. Project Thunderstrike was a weapon unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. It could disable enemy shields instantly, leaving their ships defenseless. Years of secret research had gone into its development. Working beside her was Dr. Cole. He was a brilliant weapons designer, but his eyes carried a weight that never lifted. His daughter had been a teacher on New Haven. She was one of the 1.8 million who never came home. "The power cells are stable," Cole reported, his voice flat and professional. "We can begin mass production immediately." Grant put a hand on his shoulder. "Are you sure you want to be here for this? No one would blame you if you needed time. Cole shook his head. My daughter was 26 years old. She had just gotten engaged. She was going to have a life. He looked at Grant with eyes that burned with cold fury. I will see this through. I will watch the pay for what they did. Then maybe I can rest. Deep in the asteroid belt beyond Mars, hidden shipyards worked day and night. For 30 years, Earth had been secretly building a fleet in these hidden places. The galaxy thought humans only had 50 warships. The truth was very different. 400 advanced warships waited in the darkness. They were faster and more powerful than anything they had. Their crews had trained in secret for years, preparing for a war that everyone hoped would never come. Now that war had arrived, and they were ready. General Griffin stood on the observation deck of the largest shipyard, watching the final vessels receive their weapons. Captain stood beside him. She had requested a transfer to the front lines after New Haven. She wanted to be there when the fight began. It is beautiful in a terrible way, said quietly. All this death waiting to be delivered. Griffin understood what she meant. We never wanted this. We built these ships hoping we would never need them, but hope was not enough. No, agreed, it never is. On Nexus Prime, the Galactic Council continued their normal business. High Arbiter Aura received reports of strange human activity but dismissed them as unimportant. The humans were probably building monuments to their dead, he thought. Weak species always focused on grief instead of moving forward. Counselor Al was even less concerned. He had already forgotten about New Haven. His attention was focused on expanding territory in other directions. The humans were yesterday's problem. His assistant approached him one evening with a worried expression. Counselor, our listening posts have detected unusual energy signatures near human space. Our analysts believe they may be powering up some kind of fleet. Al laughed. The humans, a fleet. They barely have enough ships to patrol their own borders. You worry too much. The humans are broken. They will never recover from the lesson we taught them. The assistant nodded, but he could not shake his concern. Something felt wrong. Back on Earth, the final preparations were complete. In the command center, Admiral Monroe stood before his assembled commanders. Captain was there, along with dozens of other officers who had lost friends and family on New Haven. Their faces were hard and determined. In 30 hours we begin Operation Reckoning, Monroe announced. We will strike 12 targets simultaneously. They will have no time to respond, no time to call for help. By the time the Council realizes what is happening, half the military will be gone. He paused and looked at each person in the room. I know what you are feeling. I feel it too, but remember why we are doing this. We are not butchers. We are not like them. We will hit military targets only. We will warn civilians to evacuate. We will show the galaxy the difference between justice and murder. Spoke up, and if they do not evacuate, if they stay and fight, then they will die, Monroe replied simply. We did not start this war, but we will finish it. The Earth government sent one final message to its citizens that night. It was broadcast on every channel, in every city, on every colony world. The message was simple and direct. Remember New Haven. Remember what they took from us. Tomorrow we take it back. In the hidden shipyards, 400 warships powered up their engines at the same moment. The sound of their reactors coming online echoed through the asteroid belt like thunder. Navigation computers locked onto their targets. Weapons systems came online. Admiral Monroe took his place on the bridge of the carrier constellation. Around him, his crew worked with quiet efficiency. They had waited 6 months for this moment. All vessels begin Operation Reckoning, Monroe commanded. The fleet moved forward into the darkness, carrying death to those who had earned it. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity was not weak. Humanity was not broken. Humanity had simply been waiting. And the waiting was over. The military hub world of had never been attacked. For 1,000 years, it had stood as a symbol of the Empire's power. Massive defense platforms orbited the planet. 300 warships patrolled its space. They believed it was impossible to breach. They were wrong. Admiral Monroe's fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel inside the defensive perimeter. This was supposed to be impossible. Every species in the galaxy knew that ships could not exit faster-than-light travel so close to a planet's gravity well. The navigation required was beyond any known computer system. But Earth's computers were not known to the galaxy. 30 years of secret development had produced technology that no alien could imagine. The defenders had exactly 4 seconds of warning before the attack began. It was not enough. "All ships fire," Monroe commanded. Project Thunderstrike weapons activated across the human fleet. Invisible waves of energy swept through space, hitting the orbital defense platforms. The shields flickered and died. Without shields, the platforms were defenseless. Human missiles found them moments later. On the planet's surface, alarms screamed in every military base. Commanders shouted orders into communicators that had stopped working. Human jamming technology had blocked all communications. They could not call for help. They could not coordinate their defense. They could only watch in horror as their empire began to burn. Captain led her squadron toward the primary military complex. Her ship, the new Relentless, cut through fighters like a knife through paper. Every shot her gunners fired found its target. Every maneuver she ordered was perfect. "Ground teams report ready," her first officer announced. Checked her sensors. The military complex was surrounded by a civilian city of 500,000. These were not soldiers. They were families, just like the families on New Haven. "Open a channel to the surface," ordered. "Broadcast on all frequencies." Her communications officer nodded. "Channel open." Spoke clearly. "Attention civilians, this is Captain Kate of the Earth Defense Fleet. We are here to destroy your military base, not your homes. You have 30 minutes to evacuate the surrounding area. Take your families and run. This is your only warning." The message repeated in the language. On the ground, confused civilians looked up at the sky filled with human warships. Many did not understand what was happening, but they heard the warning and they ran. 30 minutes later, the military complex was empty of civilians. Gave the order, and her ships reduced it to ashes. Not a single innocent life was lost. Across space, the same scene repeated at 11 other locations. Human fleets appeared without warning, disabled defenses, broadcast evacuation warnings, and destroyed military targets with surgical precision. They lost half their military strength in a single day. On the neutral trade station of Merchant's Rest, Commander Turner had a different mission. Her team of Special Forces soldiers moved through the station corridors, weapons ready but not firing. Their targets were not soldiers. The station held representatives from dozens of species. Merchants, diplomats, travelers from across the galaxy. Turner gathered them in the main hall, hundreds of aliens looking at human soldiers with terrified eyes. "You are not prisoners," Turner announced. "You are witnesses. Go back to tell your governments what you saw here today. Tell them that Earth struck only military targets. Tell them that we warned civilians to run. Tell them that we could have killed millions, but we chose not to." She paused and looked at the crowd. "And tell them this: we are not finished. They killed 1.8 million of our people, children, families, innocent lives. There was no warning for them, no mercy. Remember that difference." The witnesses were released. Within hours, their stories spread across the galaxy. News channels that had ignored New Haven now broadcast continuous coverage of Earth's revenge. But the coverage was not what they expected. Commentators noted that human forces had shown remarkable restraint. Military analysts observed that Earth could have destroyed civilian cities, but chose not to. Some even called the human response more ethical than this original attack. On Nexus Prime, the Galactic Council met in emergency session. High Arbiter Aura had aged 10 years in a single day. His 4 hands trembled as he read the damage reports. "How is this possible?" he demanded. "The humans were supposed to be weak. They were supposed to have 50 ships at most. Where did this fleet come from?" No one had an answer. Counselor Al was no longer laughing. His scales had gone pale, and his yellow eyes darted around the chamber like a trapped animal. His glorious victory over the humans had turned to ash. His empire's military strength had been cut in half. His communicator beeped with an incoming message. The signal was marked as coming from the human fleet. For a long moment, Al stared at it. Then, with shaking hands, he accepted the transmission. Admiral Monroe's face appeared on the screen. His expression was calm and cold. "Counselor Al," Monroe said quietly, "I wanted you to receive this message personally. I wanted you to know exactly what is happening and why." Al could not speak. His mouth moved, but no words came out. "Today my forces destroyed 12 military installations," Monroe continued. "We killed soldiers who would have killed us, but we spared every civilian we could reach. We gave warnings. We showed mercy." His eyes hardened. "New Haven had no military targets. Your ships gave no warnings. You killed children while they walked to school. You killed families while they ate breakfast." Monroe leaned closer to the screen. "This was us being merciful. Remember that. Remember what we could have done but chose not to do. And know that if you come for our people again, we will not be merciful a second time." The transmission ended. Al sat alone in his chambers, listening to the distant sounds of panic spreading through the council station. For the first time in his long life, he felt something he had never experienced before. Fear. The Galactic Council chambers had never seen such chaos. Representatives from 40 species shouted at each other across the Great Hall. Some demanded immediate war against humanity. Others called for peace negotiations. A few sat in stunned silence, still trying to understand how everything had changed so quickly. High Arbiter Aura raised all 4 hands and called for order. The shouting slowly died down, but the tension remained thick in the air. "We must respond to this human aggression," Aura announced. "I call upon all Council species to unite against this common threat. We will assemble the largest fleet in galactic history and remind these humans why they should fear us." Counselor Al stood to support the motion. His voice was steady, but those who knew him could see the fear hiding behind his eyes. "The Empire demands justice. The humans have committed acts of war against our sovereign territory. Every species in this council has an obligation to help us defend against these savages." For a moment, it seemed like the council would agree. Then Ambassador Perry's holographic image appeared in the center of the chamber. The human ambassador had not been seen since New Haven. Many had assumed he was dead or hiding in shame. Instead, he stood tall and confident, looking at the assembled aliens without fear. "I come to deliver Earth's terms," Perry announced. His voice was calm but firm. "We do not want more war, we want justice." Al hissed in anger. "You attack our worlds and then demand terms. You are in no position to negotiate, human." Perry turned to face him directly. "Actually, Counselor, we are in the perfect position. Your military has lost half its strength. Your communication networks are compromised. Your allies are questioning whether you are worth protecting." He smiled slightly. "Would you like me to continue listing your weaknesses? We have quite a detailed report." The chamber went silent. Perry continued. "Earth demands 3 things. First, full compensation for the lives lost on New Haven. Money cannot bring back the dead, but it will help us rebuild. Second, the leaders responsible for ordering the attack must face trial for war crimes. That includes you, Counselor Al." Perry paused to let that sink in. "Third, humanity must be elevated to full voting membership in this council. No more being treated as a lesser species." Al laughed, though there was no humor in it. "You think we will agree to these insulting demands? You think we will hand over our leaders to be judged by your primitive courts, that will never surrender to humans? Then more of your people will die, Perry replied simply. Not civilians. We are not like you, but your soldiers, your ships, your military infrastructure. We will take it apart piece by piece until you have nothing left. High Arbiter Aura interrupted. Ambassador Perry, surely you understand that if the Council unites against Earth, your species cannot survive. We have thousands of ships across dozens of species. You cannot fight us all. Perry nodded. You are correct. We cannot fight the entire galaxy, but we can make the cost so high that no one would want to pay it. He looked around the chamber. We destroyed half the military in one day. Imagine what we could do in a week, a month, a year. Dr. Lisa Grant appeared beside Perry's hologram. She carried herself with quiet confidence as she addressed the council. Allow me to demonstrate something. A technical display appeared in the air, showing complex diagrams and power readings. This is a weapon we call. It uses focused gravity manipulation to destabilize the core of a planet. We have had this technology for 15 years. We have never used it. The chamber erupted in shocked murmurs. Planet-killing weapons were the greatest taboo in galactic society. The fact that humans possessed such power and had chosen not to use it was terrifying. We could have turned the into ash, Grant continued calmly. We could have killed billions in revenge for New Haven. We chose not to. Think about what that says about us. Think about what it means that we showed restraint when you showed none. A representative from the collective stood up. They were known as neutral observers who valued logic above all else. I have analyzed the human attack patterns. Dr. Grant speaks the truth. Their forces avoided civilian casualties with remarkable precision. In terms of ethical conduct during wartime, the humans performed better than the in every measurable category. Another representative spoke up. My species trades with both Earth and the Empire. The humans have always honored their agreements. They have broken 3 treaties with us in the past decade. Why should we risk war to protect those who have proven untrustworthy? The arguments continued for hours. One by one, Council species began to voice doubts about fighting humanity. Some pointed out that Earth had shown mercy. Others noted that they had started the conflict. A few simply calculated the military costs and decided it was not worth it. By the end of the day, 3 species had officially withdrawn from any potential alliance against Earth. 5 more declared neutrality. The unified council response that Aura had demanded was falling apart. Al watched his support crumble with growing desperation. He had expected the galaxy to rally behind him. Instead, they were abandoning him. Cowards, he snarled. You are all cowards. If you will not help us, they will handle the humans alone. We will gather every ship we have left and strike at Earth itself. We will show them the true power of our empire. The chamber went quiet. Aura looked at Al with concern. Counselor, perhaps you should reconsider. A direct assault on Earth may not be wise given current circumstances. I have made my decision, Al snapped. The humans humiliated us. They must pay, and if the Council will not help us, we do not need the Council. He stormed out of the chamber, already sending orders to his remaining fleet commanders. They would attack Earth with everything they had. It was a desperate gamble, but Al no longer cared about odds. He cared only about revenge. Ambassador Perry's hologram faded as the transmission ended. On Earth, General Griffin watched the recording with a grim expression. They are coming for us, he said quietly. The fleet is already massing. Intelligence suggests 600 warships, everything they have left. Admiral Monroe nodded. Then we will meet them here in our own space, where we have every advantage. Captain stood nearby, her face determined. They should have accepted the terms. Now they will learn what happens when you bring war to humanity's home. Griffin addressed all of Earth's defense forces through a secure channel. All units, prepare for final defensive operations. The enemy is coming. Let us show them why that is the worst mistake they could make. Fleet arrived in the Sol system like a storm of metal and fire. 600 warships, the largest single force their empire had ever assembled, emerged from faster-than-light travel beyond the orbit of Mars. Counselor Al stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Emperor's Wrath, and smiled at the sight of Earth hanging in the distance. "Today we end this," he announced to his fleet. "Today we wipe the human stain from the galaxy. All ships advance toward the enemy." The fleet moved forward in perfect formation. They expected resistance. They expected a battle. What they found was something else entirely. Hidden weapons platforms activated across the asteroid belt. Disguised stations that had looked like mining operations revealed themselves as fortresses armed with devastating firepower. More human warships emerged from behind moons and from within carefully hollowed asteroids. The Sol system was not just defended, it was a trap. Admiral Monroe watched the enemy approach from the bridge of the constellation. Around him, his crew worked with calm efficiency. They had trained for this moment their entire lives. "Enemy fleet is entering the engagement zone," his tactical officer reported. "All defense platforms are ready. The fleet is in position." Monroe nodded. "Let them come deeper into the system. I want them committed before we spring the trap." They continued their advance, growing more confident with each passing minute. They saw human ships retreating before them and assumed it was fear. Al laughed as his fleet pushed forward. "They run from us," he announced triumphantly. "The mighty humans, so fearsome in their sneak attacks, flee when faced with a real battle." But it was not fear, it was strategy. When the fleet reached the space between Mars and Jupiter, Monroe gave the order. "All units, execute Battle Plan Omega. Show them what we are made of." The human fleet stopped retreating and turned to face the enemy. At the same moment, the hidden defense platforms opened fire from all sides. They found themselves surrounded, taking fire from directions they never expected. The battle that followed was the largest in human history. Energy weapons turned space into a storm of light. Missiles streaked between ships. Fighters in swirling patterns that no computer could have predicted. Men and women died on both sides, sacrificing themselves for their people. Captain led her squadron directly into the heart of the enemy formation. Her target was the Emperor's Wrath, Counselor Al's flagship. She had promised herself that she would face him personally. "All ships follow me," she commanded. "We are going straight for their leader." Her squadron cut through the lines like a blade. Human ships were faster and more maneuverable than their alien counterparts. Human pilots were better trained and more determined. For every human ship that fell, 3 ships died. Dr. Cole watched the battle from a control station deep within Earth's orbital defense network. In front of him was the activation panel for his greatest weapon. He had designed it in the months after his daughter's death, pouring all his grief and rage into the equations. "Dr. Cole, the enemy fleet is in optimal position," a technician reported. "The weapon is charged and ready." Cole looked at the panel. One button would activate the pulse. One button would cripple half the enemy fleet. He thought of his daughter, of her smile, of the future she would never have. For he whispered and pressed the button. A wave of energy expanded from Earth's orbital platforms, invisible but devastating. It passed through ships like a ghost, leaving chaos in its wake. Power systems failed. Weapons went offline. Engines sputtered and died. 300 enemy ships drifted helplessly, suddenly defenseless. The tide of battle turned in an instant. Human forces pressed their advantage ruthlessly. Ship after ship fell to coordinated attacks. The formation broke apart as captains panicked and tried to flee. On the Emperor's Wrath, Al watched his fleet dying around him. His flagship had been too far from the pulse weapon to be disabled, but that meant nothing now. His invasion was collapsing. "No," he snarled. "No, I will not lose to these creatures. I will not be remembered as a failure." He turned to his navigation officer. Set course directly for Earth, maximum speed. Ram the planet if you have to. If I cannot conquer them, I will destroy them. The Emperor's wrath surged forward, breaking away from the battle. Its engines burned at full power as it accelerated toward the blue planet. Saw the flagships move on her sensors. She understood immediately what Al was trying to do. All ships, intercept that vessel. Do not let it reach Earth. Her squadron gave chase, but the Emperor's wrath had a head start. It was going to reach Earth before they could stop it. Millions of lives were at stake. Made her decision in an instant. All crew abandon ship. Get to the escape pods now. That is an order. Her first officer protested. Captain, what are you doing? My job, replied. Now go all of you. Her crew evacuated while stayed at the controls. She pushed her ship to its limits, gaining on the enemy flagship. The distance closed. 1 kilometer, 500 meters, 100. The Relentless slammed into the Emperor's wrath at full speed. The collision knocked the massive ship off course, sending it spinning away from Earth. Both vessels broke apart from the impact. Escape pod launched at the last possible second. She watched through the small window as her ship died, taking the enemy flagship with it. Counselor Al did not survive the collision. His dreams of conquest and revenge ended in fire and twisted metal. Without their leader, the remaining forces surrendered within the hour. The battle was over. Earth had won. 3 days later, High Arbiter Aura contacted Earth personally. He agreed to all of humanity's demands. Reparations would be paid. War crimes trials would be held. And humanity would take its place as a full member of the Galactic Council. A memorial was built on New Haven, listing the name of every person who died in the massacre. Admiral Monroe visited it on the day of its dedication. Captain stood beside him, her arm still in a cast from her injuries. Was it worth it? She asked quietly. All the death, all the destruction, did we accomplish anything? Monroe looked at the endless list of names carved in stone. We showed the galaxy who we are. We showed them that we will protect our own. And we showed them that strength and mercy can exist together. He paused. I think that matters. On Nexus Prime, Ambassador Perry took his seat in the council chambers for the first time as a full member. The alien representatives watched him with a mixture of fear and respect. The species they had dismissed as primitive had proven to be something far more dangerous. Perry looked around at all the faces that had once condemned his people. He did not smile. He did not gloat. He simply sat down and waited for the session to begin. Humanity had earned its place among the stars. They had paid for it with blood and grief and sacrifice. But they had also proven something that the galaxy would never forget. When you push humanity too far, they push back, and they never stop pushing until the job is done.